This is Mad Movie Mark, or the Mad Movie Mark movie review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1987 Spanish comedy thriller Law of Desire.
Perdona, creo que voy a vomitar.
Hey, hold on a second. There's no reason to have that reaction. We're gonna have a great review here. I'm reviewing every movie that has 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I am giving them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I'm going chronologically in order. I started the 1920s silent movie era, and now I'm at 1987 with Law of Desire. This movie has a 100% fresh rating from the critics and an 82% fresh rating from the audience. It stars Eusebio Poncela, I butchered that name, I'm sorry, as Pablo, Miguel Molina as Juan, Carmen Mora as Tina, Manuel Velasco as Ada, and Antonio Banderas as Antonio. So that name worked out really well. He was able to keep the same name that he has in real life. So this movie is probably, I think it's the first Spanish movie that I have reviewed for this channel. Not the first Spanish movie I've seen, just the first one that I'm reviewing. And it is okay, I would say. So this movie, essentially, Pablo is the main character. He is a person who writes and creates movies that mostly have to do with gay men. He is also gay in his life as well. I don't know if that's the correct word to use, if that's what we use nowadays, but we'll just say, I'm not trying to offend anyone. We'll just say that he is gay in the movie and that he makes movies about gay people. Now, his boyfriend in the movie, Juan, was in his latest play that he put on. He also does plays, and Juan is now moving back to where his family lives. And Pablo is very kind of emotionally upset about this. He is very emotionally attached to Juan. He loves Juan, and Juan loves him, and neither one of them want to leave each other, but Juan does have to go back to his family. So Pablo decides that he is going to try to forget about Juan. He is not going to respond to Juan's postcards and letters that he sends because it's just too difficult to have him in his life if they're not physically together. Now, helping him through this situation is Pablo's sister, who was once his brother but had a surgery to become a woman. That is his sister, Tina.
De pequeña era la solista del coro. Es lo único que echo de menos de esa época.
Me recuerda mucho a un antiguo alumno. Él también cantaba en el coro.
Padre Constantino. Soy yo.
Now, in real life, Tina is played by an actual woman, so not a man who became a woman, played by an actual woman. Tina has a daughter, which she kind of inherited from her sister because her sister no longer is in the picture, and her daughter's name is Ada. Her daughter is probably 10, 11 years old and basically idolizes Pablo, and at one point says that she is in love with Pablo. So Pablo and Tina and Ada are just going through the motions of life. Pablo tells Tina that he's going to have her in his next play and his next film. She's going to have a starring role. She is excited about this because she's a bit down on her luck as far as money goes, and she really needed kind of a leg up. She needed help from somewhere.
Tengo que empezar a ensayar la voz.
¿Y quién es la afortunada?
Me gustaría que lo hicieras tú.
Funciona. Es que le hemos pedido trabajo a la Virgen y nos lo ha dado, por eso he hecho el voto.
So she finally gets the help that she needs, and she is going to be in this next picture. Now, enter in Antonio. Antonio is kind of like a crazed fan who loves Pablo's work and who wants to pursue a relationship with Pablo, but he's very, I would say, jealous, the jealous type. He's kind of crazy in that if he can't have Pablo, kind of no one can have Pablo. So he strikes up this relationship with Pablo. Pablo tells him early on that he is not interested in like a relationship, that he's just looking, to fill in some emotional gaps that Juan has left, and that he still loves Juan.
No me mientas, Pablo. No me engañes nunca.
Oye, alto, alto, alto. Yo no te he prometido nada. Y ya te advertí que no te fiaras de mí.
Vamos, deja de fingir. No estás con la prensa. Tú me quieres. Lo noto. Pero te gusta hacerte pasar por un frívolo.
Soy un frívolo.
Now, Pablo and Juan decide that they're going to see each other. Juan works in his family's business, and there's like this big lighthouse by where he works. So he's invited Pablo to come take a look at the lighthouse and for them to spend the day together. Now, Antonio realizes that this is happening, and he makes, I'm not going to say what he does or what happens to Juan, but he makes a decision that will help him be with Pablo all on his own, and will kind of get Juan out of the picture. And this decision kind of drives the rest of the movie. Pablo ends up becoming incredibly depressed. He ends up crashing his car into a pole, and after he crashes his car into a pole, he gets amnesia. He forgets who his family is. He forgets who his sister is.
Así que no recuerdas nada. No. ¿Quién soy? ¿Qué hacen esos hombres ahí?
His sister tells a story that she says she has never told Pablo before in the hospital. And that story is that when she was a boy and she was living with Pablo and her father and her mother, her and her father had a romantic relationship when he was very young. She was very young. So basically the father raped him as a child, and she ended up falling in love with her father, and she had the surgery to become a girl at her father's request. But she said she would have done it anyway because she would have done anything for her father. She was madly in love with him, and she would have given her life if he had asked her to do it. Now, after this happened, her father ended up leaving her, which left her like an emotional wreck and left her unable to ever have any type of relationship with a man ever again. Pablo ends up regaining his memory back. At the end of the movie, he really has it out with Antonio. They kind of have a scene at the end where Antonio basically kidnaps Tina and Ada. Pablo comes to their rescue, and he ends up offering himself for the safe return of Tina and Ada. And then I won't like give up how the movie ends, but honestly, after the point where Juan meets his fate, everything after that, a lot of what's after that, the major events aside from Tina being raped by her father, a lot of the things that happen are not that hard to guess. Like you can guess a lot of the major events that are going to happen if you're really paying attention. I think a lot of it is supposed to be that catch you by surprise or catch you off guard, but it's incredibly it doesn't do that. It's very easy to know what's going to happen before it happens, which is something that I really hate in a movie. I want to be surprised during surprising things, but a lot of it I was just guessing what was going to happen. There was a lot of eye rolling with a lot of these scenes, and honestly, after Juan meets his fate, it really seems like it becomes a lot like a soap opera, in that some of the storylines, some of the things that happen are a little bit ridiculous, and maybe it's comedy because of that ridiculousness. I don't know. Otherwise, I don't understand why this movie is a comedy, unless it's a comedy because the situations are not that. The situations are supposed to be, I think, like tense situations. They're supposed to be like gripping and really, really get your attention to the movie, but a lot of them just seem ridiculous, and I had a hard time keeping a lot of interest. I will say that the very, very best part of this movie, for me, the shining star of this movie, was Carmen Maura as Tina. Her acting is absolutely phenomenal. Her storyline is compelling. Everything that happens to her, whether it's tragic or happy, you feel her emotions in this movie. Her what she does in this movie is absolutely fantastic, and she's definitely. I would say the acting in this movie is good, but I would say she is definitely the shining star of this movie. And I wished the movie was about her. Like I wish she was the main character, and we were looking into her life more. And that was the movie because her story is so much better. Her story is so much more compelling than the story of Pablo, and I wanted more of that storyline. That being said, it was hard in my head to equate her as a former guy because she's a woman in real life, and you know it doesn't seem like she could have ever been a guy. That was difficult. It would have been easier, if they had actually used a guy who became a girl. But I'm glad they didn't because she's a great actress. So it's kind of I'm torn both ways here. But no, her performance was absolutely amazing. Antonio Banderas, I think he was in his late 20s in this movie. It's not his first role, but he did like 10 or 12 movies before this, I think. But it's the youngest I've ever seen him in a movie, and he does a really good job as the villain. Very good acting. For me, it's just the script, especially at the end of the movie where they're trying to tie things together. They're trying to make one part of the story end and another part, branch off, and it just gets messy to me, and it's just not it's not smart movie making to me. It was kind of annoying, to be perfectly honest. When he gets amnesia, I thought, okay, like this is like classic, just throwaway plot line because he's being chased by the cops at some point. Pablo is, and what better way to elude interrogation from the cops than to have amnesia? It worked out perfectly. And then he got his memory back right when he needed to, because right when he got his memory back, Antonio kidnapped Tina. So it worked out perfectly. Timeline was amazing. How did that happen? Because it needed to, because of the movie. Not a huge fan of it. The story in general, I wasn't a big fan of. I didn't think it was that compelling. I knew right away that Antonio Banderas was going to be the villain, and I knew right away he was going to be like a crazed fan. And it's unfortunate when you know right away things are going to be happening and you're not surprised by it. This is the type of movie that tries, I think, to take a lot of twists and turns. It tries to keep you guessing, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't happen. Everything is just so easy to figure out. And it's a real shame. It really is. But like I said, Tina to me is the shining star of this movie. Fantastic acting. Her storyline was compelling. She got a lot of great material to work with. There's a few scenes where like she really can show her acting chops in this movie, where she really needed to come through and put on a good performance, and she just did. It's fantastic. That being said, there is also a scene where her and her daughter are like filming part of a play, and her daughter's on this contraption where she's rotating in front of Tina, and Tina's kind of in the background, being very angry at something. The cinematography here is fantastic. I really like how this scene is shot. This was probably the most gripping part of the whole movie, was just this one scene. To be honest, a lot of the other stuff I didn't care about that much. When Juan met his fate, I think I was supposed to feel a certain way that I just didn't feel, even though it seems like Juan and Pablo have this great relationship, this great love. It's just I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything when he met his fate, and I felt like I should have, and I didn't. And I think that's the movie's fault for not building that up enough. But all in all, it's not a bad movie. It's just the 80s have been so good that this is just not up to the 80s standard that I've had for movies of this decade. So it's gonna get a 7.5 out of 10, and I would say really like 6 of that is just because of Carmen Mora's performance. Absolutely amazing. I hope you will join me next time. I am very excited about my next review. It is going to be the last movie of the 1980s, and it is actually one of my favorite movies of all time, so you can kind of tell where my score is going to be on this one. But the next one's going to be Grave of the Fireflies, last movie of the 1980s, and I am super excited to dive into this one. So thank you. I hope you guys have a great day.